Hey, what's up everybody? I'm D. Welcome to the Fishing and Fighting Podcast, formerly Kickin' Bass TV. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining us today. If you have been subscribed to the channel for a while, I wanted to get on here first and foremost and kind of let you guys know what's been going on with me lately, why I decided to stop doing Kickin' Bass TV, and why we're going to be moving forward under the new name. Fishing and Fighting Podcast, obviously pretty self-explanatory in the name, and if you follow the channel long enough, you already know that for the last 3 or 4 years we've been doing a fishing and fighting segment on the channel where every Friday or Saturday I would go out, do a live stream, fish somewhere locally, talk about fight cards, give you guys my fight predictions, and do a live chat with you guys. We had a lot of fun doing that. We're going to continue to do that, and that's sort of the reason why we are leaning into this format and getting away from the educational stuff that I was doing for the last 5 years with Kickin' Bass TV. So we're going to cover UFC 309 as our first official event on the channel, coming up this Saturday, of course, in Madison Square Gardens with John Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title. But we're going to also talk about what's going on with the channel, what you guys can expect to see moving forward, and give you guys some late fall, early winter fishing tips at the end of the video. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below. Let's go. Alright guys, so whether you're new to the channel or you've been with us for a while, first thing I wanted to do was get on here as sort of an introduction to the new channel, new format, and let you guys know what's been going on with me, why I decided to stop doing Kickin' Bass TV, and why we're moving forward with this new format. Now, like I said, if you've been with us long enough, you've seen already that for the last few years I've been doing the fishing and fighting segment weekly on the show, and that involved basically just a live stream where I would get on, chat with you guys, whether it was about fishing or fighting, upcoming fight cards, or giving fight predictions. We're gonna continue to basically do that, essentially just expound on that idea by making the entire channel either about fishing or fighting relating content. Now, another reason, I was just kind of getting tired of what I was doing with Kickin' Bass TV. I started to feel like we had already done everything that we could do in that format anyway, because my main 3 goals when I started the channel was, number 1, to provide, you know, short, in-depth but concise and no nonsense educational content to help especially bass fishermen learn to catch more fish year round, and just no bullshit in between, not saying 57 times every 2 minutes, and also not poaching other people's content and passing it off as my own. And in that respect, I feel like I was successful. I feel like you know, there's people that create content that's just kind of that goofy, douchebaggy, kind of Guggen-esque content, and there's people like myself. There's the amazing guys at Tactical Bassin and a handful of other content creators that are more focused on the educational value of fishing content. And in that respect, I also feel like I was successful. I also attained a ton of amazing sponsors along the way over the last 5 or 6 years, most of which are continuing to ride with us into this new endeavor with the Fishing and Fighting Podcast. So I'm very grateful for that. Also very grateful for all the support that you guys have shown me over the last 5 years running Kickin' Bass TV. And ultimately, I just couldn't justify continuing to take the time and money that it was to create all that content when I wasn't seeing financially enough support in return to justify me doing it. So not only that, I had some health issues I needed to get under control, and that led to me wanting to get back into music. So that is the third motivator. I started a new band in January called Mood Swinger. A lot of you guys that are friends with me on social media already know this. If you don't, basically it took a lot of time to lay the groundwork for that. We wrote the record pretty quickly, but it took some time to get it recorded, and now that that's officially released on all major platforms, which we'll leave a link to down below, I don't need as much attention. I knew I wanted to get back to creating content. I knew I wanted it to be in the fishing world, but I was, like I said, just growing tired of everything that was going on with Kickin' Bass TV. And honestly, one of the other motivators was, as you guys know, I spent you know, a great amount of time. 5 years straight, I just spent countless hours and shared a lifetime of experience and knowledge and expertise with you guys. And I know a lot of you guys are really grateful for that, and you've personally told me how much I've helped you guys become a better angler and have more fun doing so. And that was my goal when I started the channel. So that's why I was happy with where things were, and I kind of needed a break anyway. So I did so. I took a break. I'm happy with what's going on right now. We're starting this new channel. It's going to be amazing. We don't have a budget, obviously, to pay any professional fighters to come on the show, but you can guarantee that I'll be busting my ass to line up anybody who's willing to come on the show, whether it's a professional fighter that trains and lives here in Denver, or a coach or trainer, or anybody having to do with the fishing world as well. So we're going to continue to bring you weekly MMA updates. We'll break down fight cards. I'll give you guys fight predictions. We'll still talk fishing tips here and there, but like I said, not so much on the educational side of things. Going to be leaning more into the entertainment side on the fishing side and the fighting side. So hopefully you guys will stick with us through that. Like I said, I appreciate all your support through the last 5 years. Those of you that started with us with the Kickin' Bass TV thing, that's over now, and time to start a new thing with the Fishing and Fighting podcast. So hopefully you guys will continue to ride with us. I appreciate your support. Let's get into UFC 309. All right, guys, so UFC 309 going down, Madison Square Gardens, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. This is a massive fight, especially for you hardcore MMA fans. Now, a lot of people been talking negative about Jon, about this fight, surrounding the whole Tom Aspinall thing, and honestly, I think that whole shit is ridiculous, because anybody with half a brain that knows anything about the fight game understands why they allowed this fight to be postponed and kept it on the books. And it's because these guys simply just sell more tickets than a Jon versus Tom Aspinall fight ever would or ever will. And I don't necessarily think that you should count that out, because if there's one thing I know about my boy Johnny Bones, he is a fucking fierce competitor. So I would not be surprised one bit if he walks through Stipe Miocic, grabs the mic Saturday night, and calls out Tommy Boy for the next fight, because I would love to see him beat the shit out of Tom Aspinall. I think he makes easy work of that kid, because he does not have a particularly impressive skill set. He's just a huge freak of nature. He is naturally gifted and is about 45 pounds bigger than my boy Jon Jones, but I don't think it makes any difference. I think Jon would catch him. His fight IQ is too high for him. He would take it to the ground and end it very similar to the way that he beat Ciryl Gane. I think Stipe is actually going to be a tougher fight for Jon. Stipe has not only the ability to knock Jon out, but also has quick hands. He's a good hand fighter. He's got great calf kicks. He's quick with the kicks as well. And he's got a great fight IQ. Some people are concerned about some CTE and some maybe him not being as ready to take this fight after being knocked out so viciously by Francis Ngannou, but that's one of the things that makes Stipe one of the greatest of all time. And I think when it comes to the heavyweight division, he probably is the best that we've ever seen, aside from a guy like Cain Velasquez, who really didn't get to reach his full potential because of certain things. But that's either here nor there. I think that whole narrative that Tom Aspinall is creating with the people talking about Jon ducking him is fucking ridiculous. You've had a fight on the books for a year. It's scheduled. You've got a contract signed. That's what's going down Saturday night in Madison Square Gardens. And like I said, it wouldn't be a bit surprised if Jon walks through Stipe, jumps on the mic, and calls out Tommy Boy next. So after that, Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler for the second time. I was actually there in person in Houston the first time that they fought. It was Mother's Day weekend. The UFC flew myself and my mom out. We got to sit front row with Chuck Liddell, a bunch of awesome people, some of my favorite fighters. Derek Lewis, Kevin Holland was right behind me, and had a great time. But what I got to see firsthand was in the staging area after the walkout, I got to see the size of Charles Oliveira, and for a 55er, he's absolutely massive. The guy probably walks around 185, 190 pounds and has a big weight cut. I know that Chandler has a big weight cut too, but there's a lot of talk of him kind of getting that under control, more so shifting his physique to the point to where his upper body sort of similar to, I would say, like Rafael Dos Anjos. kind of has always done, and he's kept that strength in the upper body and that explosiveness. And although he's had a lot more endurance than a guy like Chandler, I wouldn't be surprised if Chandler comes out here because of the fights that he's had over the last few years and is able to endure an absolute war with Oliveira. And in that respect, I think he would come away with the win if he's able to kind of, prevent himself from being taken down. But I don't think Oliveira's looking to fight that kind of fight. He's been through too many wars. He's too smart. He's too old for that. I think Chandler makes any mistakes early while they're dry in the first or second round. I would think Oliveira's looking to take his back and get a submission early, get out of there unscathed, and set up a title fight for himself next. After that, you got my boy Eric Anders taking on Chris Weidman. This is a huge step up in competition for my boy Eric Anders. And I feel like while Chris Weidman's an absolute legend of the game and former champion, he doesn't have the fight IQ. Not that Eric Anders is necessarily the smartest fighter or has the best skill set, but the thing that's always impressed me about Eric Anders is that he had very little combat experience, no martial arts experience, came from a football background, and really impressed me the way that he was able to evolve and take out some absolute killers in the 185 and 205 division. Now, for that reason, I think Eric Anders is probably going to get this done, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Weidman pulled off an upset. Another fight I'm looking forward to, Bo Nickel taking on my boy Paul Craig. Now, as a Scotsman myself, I gotta go for Paul Craig, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I think there's a reason why Bo Nickel's the biggest favorite on the card, and I'm sure he's either gonna go in there and because Paul Craig will be either too preoccupied with the takedown and catch him with the hands, or he'll go in there and want to test him as an absolute killer on the ground that Paul Craig is and show just how dominant this kid is. There's a reason, like I said, that Bo Nickel is such a heavy favorite, and I think we'll probably see that Saturday. But either way, a ton of awesome fights coming up on UFC 309. That's kind of why I wanted to push things ahead of schedule and kick off the new format with the Fishing and Fighting Podcast, because Johnny Boy is one of my favorite fighters. He's definitely the GOAT, and you're gonna see why Saturday night.
That's it. It's done.
All right, guys, for your UFC 309 fight picks, kicking the night off, Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Mora. I've got Hardy in this one because she's been evolving and she's got Dan Hardy helping her stay out of trouble in her corner. Then I got Basil Hafez pulling off the upset against Oban Elliott as the plus 240 underdog. After that, Mickey Gall, who recently lost to Basil Hafez in his last bout, looking to get back in the win column. I think he takes the win against Ramiz Brahimaj. After that, we got Marcin Tybura versus Jonathan Diniz at heavyweight. That could go either way. I've got Tybura in that one. And then heading off the prelim card, David Onama versus Roberto Romero at lightweight. I've got Onama taking the win in that fight. Another great lightweight bout, Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson the favorite in this one. Heavy grappler, real scrappy dude, but I think Jim Miller's looks so good as of late. I think he gets it done. This next fight, very exciting. Weidman versus Anders. Anders, a guy who came from a football background with no combat experience, evolved very quickly. And Weidman, great striker, credentialed wrestler, but I think he represents more of the old school, whereas Anders represents the new school. I think Anders figures out a way to get the win. Closing out the prelims, you have Jonathan Martinez taking on Marcus McGee. McGee is an absolute dog. He's the favorite in this fight, but I think Martinez weathers the storm and beats him in the second round. Kicking things off on the main card, Ruffy coming in as a huge favorite at minus 900 against Lon Top. I think there's definitely a reason, and I think he gets it done in the first round. After that, Viviana Araujo facing Karina Silva as a minus 298 favorite. I think she pulls off the upset there. I'm going with Araujo. Then you've got Bo Nickel as the biggest favorite on the card at minus 1350, taking on my fellow Scotsman Paul Craig. Now, I want to pick Craig for this fight, but I think that Bo Nickel's the favorite for a reason. I think as a credentialed wrestler, he's just going to be ultimately too strong for him. For your co-main event, you have Chandler taking on Oliveira for the second time. It did not go Michael Chandler's way in the first fight, although he was able to hurt Charles early in that bout. I think if he goes out this time, stays patient, fights a little smarter fight, I think he can keep it on the feet, make it an absolute war, and because of the motivation, for your co-main event, turn the result around this time. For the co-main event, you've got John Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the undisputed heavyweight championship. And although Stipe is always a dangerous individual, we've seen exactly what he's capable of during his reign as heavyweight champion. And he definitely has a chance to put John to sleep if John plays his game. I think John fights a smart fight. He makes easy work of him. just like he did with Cyril.